Episode 2, The Grey Recruit. 2 days after Kale Vale uncovered the glowing bronze book, a parchment stamped with Stonehaven's Red Tower crest slid under the clinic door. Kale Vale, you are invited to Stonehaven Training School. Report at sunrise with a staff or practice sword. Dormitory assignment. Room 7. Recruits will train to defend the city from the rising Nightcrest Horde. Kale's stomach fluttered. The mighty Nightcrest Horde, an army of shadow magic from the void, had consumed distant stars, but they hadn't yet reached Stonehaven. Their dark scouts watched from afar, a chilling promise of a coming storm. Could a skinny helper stand against such a cosmic threat? Hidden under his long sleeves, the gold and silver wristbands pulsed, a faint warmth saying, "Yes, you can." He packed his staff, bread, and tucked the bronze book deep in his satchel. Then he set off toward the tall stone gate. Gray morning light touched the training yard. Recruits in bright armor swung polished swords. Cole stepped into the yard, clutching his simple staff, feeling utterly out of place. Heads turned, whispers followed. Look at that one. Is he lost? Did they really let him in? He could feel their scorn. He stayed near a cracked wall, trying to disappear. He didn't see Bran among the crowd. A horn blast echoed. Captain Ida Stoneheart, straight as a spear in bronze armor, stepped onto a platform. "Recruits!" she called. The Nightcrest Horde marches closer across the stars. They have not reached our gates, not yet, but their scouts watch. In 2 years you must guard these walls. Orientation today, tomorrow, we measure your true strength. Kale exhaled. 2 years. A day to settle felt like mercy. Morning filled with roll calls, tours of map rooms showing cosmic threats, and rule talks. Kale memorized hallways. He saw recruits use small magic. He felt inadequate. He noticed the standard-issue tracking bands all recruits wore. Just before midday, the room list was posted. Room 7, Bran Avers, Kale Vale, Finian Cobble. Kale's chest tightened. Sharing a room for 2 years with Bran and someone he didn't know felt even riskier. Dorm 7, 3 narrow beds, 1 small desk, 1 high window. It felt cramped. Bran arrived first, hauling a heavy spear bag. He dropped it on a bunk. Kale entered moments later. Bran was already in the room, turning as Kale came in. Bran's eyes fixed on Kale, a flicker of something unreadable. "You're Kale from the dorm scroll?" Bran asked. Kale nodded. "Yes." "Kale Vale." Bran looked at him, then around the room. "Right, room 7, look," Bran said, voice low. "We had our thing back in the city, stupid kid stuff. Out here it's different. The Horde is coming, 2 years to get ready. We're roommates. We don't have to be friends, but we're not enemies. Agreed?" He extended his hand. Kale hesitated, then shook Bran's hand firmly. "Agreed." Inside his coat pocket, the bronze book warmed. A few minutes later, a third boy shuffled in, clutching a worn book and a bent dagger. He was skinnier than Kale, with spectacles and a worried expression. He jumped when he saw Kale and Bran. "Oh, hello, room 7, he squeaked. Bran looked him up and down. "Yeah, you Finian?" The boy nodded rapidly. "Finian Cobble, yes. Is this my bed?" He pointed to the third bunk. "Looks like it," Bran grunted. Finian scurried to the bed, carefully placing his book on the pillow, then sat down stiffly. He avoided eye contact, seeming to shrink into himself. Weak, nerdy, and terrified. Kale felt pity and anxiety. Another person to hide his secret from. Afternoon shield rune class. Kale's chalk strokes flowed neat. Secret practice with the bronze book helped. 2 rows back sat Rett Hollis. Blonde hair, sharp eyes, new sword. Rett noticed Kale's tidy rune work. When Captain Ida turned away, Rett nudged Kale's elbow with his sword tip, smearing the line. Kale calmly erased and rewrote. Bran saw the smear, cleared his throat loudly, and stared hard at Rett. Rett shrugged, muttering, "Simple mistake," but kept his hands to himself. Finian flinched visibly, burying his nose in his textbook. At sunset, Captain Ida walked the corridor. "Ninth bell lights out," she said. "Your tracking bands will alert guards. Soldiers are patrolling. First bell tomorrow, the power circle will show where each of you stands." Kale's stomach flipped. Bran sighed. "Real numbers in the morning," he said. Finian made a small, nervous sound. Kale lay awake long after the lantern dimmed, imagining glowing runes. Would the slab reveal his secret? The bronze book pulsed, a reminder he could choose how hard to strike. He heard Bran's heavy breathing and Finian's light, quick breaths. Kale woke before the first bell, the knot of anxiety tight. He'd barely slept, the power circle test replaying. How could he stand on that slab without giving everything away? He dressed quickly, pulling his sleeves low over the bands. Bran was... Rett noticed Kale's tidy rune work. When Captain Ida turned away, Rett nudged Kale's elbow with his sword tip, smearing the line. Kale calmly erased and rewrote. Bran saw the smear, cleared his throat loudly, and stared hard at Rett. Rett shrugged, muttering, "Simple mistake," but kept his hands to himself. Finian flinched visibly, burying his nose in his rune textbook. At sunset, Captain Ida walked the dorm corridor. "Ninth bell lights out," she said. "Your tracking bands will alert guards if you're outside restricted areas. Soldiers are actively patrolling. First bell tomorrow, the power circle will show where each of you stands." Kale's stomach flipped. Bran sighed on his bunk. "Guess we'll see real numbers in the morning," he said. Finian made a small, nervous sound from his bed. Kale lay awake long after the lantern dimmed, imagining glowing runes. Would the slab reveal his secret? The bronze book pulsed, a reminder he could choose how hard to strike if he struck. He could hear Bran's heavy breathing and Finian's light, quick breaths across the room. Kale woke before the first bell, the knot of anxiety in his stomach already tight. He'd barely slept, the thought of the power circle test replaying. How could he, Kale Twig Vale, with his hidden, strange power, possibly stand on that slab without giving everything away? He dressed quickly, pulling his sleeves low over the bands. Bran was still asleep. Finian was awake, sitting bolt upright in his bed, eyes wide behind his spectacles, trembling slightly. Kale slipped out of the room quietly. The air in the corridors was cold. Other recruits were already stirring, practicing nervous sword forms or whispering about the test. Kale joined the flow, heading towards the training yard, his simple staff feeling heavier with the weight of his secret. Frost sparkled on yard stones as the recruits formed a wide ring around a circular slab etched with faint, glowing symbols. Captain Ida stood beside it. "Recruits!" she called, her voice cutting through the morning chill. "Today, we measure your raw potential. Strike the circle once with your weapon or channel your energy into it. The slab will react, and its light will reveal your power level. Gray means low power, blue is strong, gold is rare, truly exceptional." Bran Avers was called forward early. He stepped to the circle, planted his feet wide, and drove the tip of his practice spear into the center of the slab. The stone blazed bright gold, fierce sparks spiraling high into the cold air. Cheers erupted from the recruits. Bran gave a modest nod. Next was a girl Kale hadn't noticed before, standing quietly near the front. She had dark, intense eyes and held a focus staff carved from a dark, unfamiliar wood. Captain Ida called her name, Elara Thorne. Elara stepped forward with quiet confidence, placing the tip of her staff gently onto the power circle. The slab didn't just glow, it pulsed with a deep, resonant blue, brighter than any Kale had seen, with consistent, shimmering gold threads weaving through it. It wasn't as explosive as Bran's display, but it felt deeper, more controlled. A murmur of impressed whispers went through the crowd. Elara simply nodded to the captain and stepped back, her expression calm. Rett Hollis followed, swinging his polished blade with practiced arrogance. Runes flashed strong blue with a brief gold flicker, impressive, but clearly second to both Bran and Elara. Rett forced a grin, hiding obvious annoyance. More names followed, several blue, many gray. Each time a gray light appeared, quiet snickers spread through the crowd. Kale felt his stomach clench tighter. His turn was coming. Last came Kale Vale. Sweat dampened his hand as he walked to the circle, whispers growing louder. He clutched his staff. He touched the stone gently with the staff's tip. No guardian surge, just his normal, meager energy. Symbols glowed a soft, weak gray and faded almost instantly. Chuckles spread, louder this time. Rett smirked openly, whispering something to his friends. Bran met Kale's eye from the edge of the circle, his expression unreadable. Elara glanced at him, her dark eyes holding a flicker Kale couldn't decipher. Captain Ida closed her ledger. "Power is one part," she said. "Discipline, heart, and teamwork matter as much." Dismissed for breakfast. Recruits ate on a low wall. Kale nibbled bread, Bran shared his loaf. Rett sauntered by with two friends. "Gold Bran and Gray Twig sharing crumbs?" he scoffed, tapping Kale's staff. One of Rett's friends, Torvin, spotted Finian sitting a few feet away, trying to make himself invisible. Torvin grinned nastily. "Look at the little bookworm," he sneered, flicking a pebble that bounced off Finian's spectacles. Finian yelped, a small, frightened sound dropping his bread roll. Bran stood slowly, his gold performance giving him presence. "He's my roommate, Rett," Bran said, low but final. "Leave him alone, move on." Rett glanced at Bran's spear, at the memory of the gold flash. "No trouble," he muttered, backing off, pulling Torvin with him. Nearby, students murmured. Bran's authority impressed them. Kale's hidden bands tingled under his sleeve. Ally Trust, +10. Finian, face pale and trembling, scrambled to pick up his dropped bread, his hands shaking. The rest of the day brought grueling footwork drills, challenging map quizzes on cosmic threats, and another rune lesson. Kale found the rune work surprisingly intuitive, his secret practice with the bronze book paying off. He guided Bran's chalk hand, showing him the correct flow of the lines. Bran looked at his improved rune, a genuine smile touching his face. "You're quick with chalk, Kale," he murmured. Kale's cheeks warmed slightly at the unexpected praise. Rett watched from across the room, eyes narrowed, but did nothing. Finian struggled with the runes, his hand shaking. During a break, Rett and Torvin walked past Finian's desk. Torvin accidentally knocked Finian's ink bottle over. Finian gasped, face crumpling, but he didn't say a word as Rett and Torvin walked away, laughing quietly. Kale felt a fresh surge of anger, but again he couldn't do anything without drawing attention. Before ninth bell lights out, Bran polished his spear. Kale swept the hall. Lanterns dimmed. Bran dozed quickly. Finian lay stiffly, pretending to be asleep. Kale waited until Finian's breathing evened out slightly before he slipped outside, finding a secluded corner. His standard-issue wristband remained dark. He whispered, "Barrier." A faint golden dome formed. He held it for 3 minutes, feeling the drain on his vital strength, sent gentle pushes outward that stirred dry leaves, then dismissed the glow. The bronze book appeared. Secret practice. Logged barrier. 3 minutes. Experience plus 150. Returning quietly to the dorm lane, Kale encountered Rett and his 2 friends lingering near the shadows of an old storage building. Rett folded his arms, blocking Kale's path, his smirk wider than usual. Well, well. Look who's out after curfew. Sneaking around, little twig. His friends snickered. The sound of distant bootsteps echoed, a guard patrol. Rett stepped closer, raising his polished practice sword. Maybe we should teach the Gray Stick a lesson about rules. Coil's heart hammered. He gripped his staff. He couldn't use a full barrier, but the bands on his wrist pulsed, a different kind of warmth, a subtle, localized energy. As Rett took another step forward, Kale didn't move his feet, but channeled that focused warmth inward, creating a tiny, almost imperceptible distortion of the air directly around him. As Rett's sword tip neared, it met that invisible distortion. There was no flash, no sound, just a sudden jarring resistance like hitting thick, unseen water. Rett's sword bounced back slightly. He stumbled back a step, surprise flashing across his face, quickly replaced by confusion and anger. "What was that?" he demanded, looking wildly at his sword tip, then at Kale, who just stood there, staff held loosely, face carefully blank. Rett's friends exchanged nervous glances. They hadn't seen anything, but they felt the strange tension, saw Rett stumble. The sound of the patrolling guards was getting closer. Rett glared at Kale, frustrated and bewildered by the unexpected resistance. You just got lucky," he snarled, his voice low and angry, but lacking the previous confidence. His face was red with thwarted malice. He stepped aside, his gaze sharp, trying to find the trick. Kale walked past them, keeping his pace steady, not looking back, the subtle energy around him fading. Back in the dorm, while Bran slept soundly and Finian lay still, pretending to be asleep, Kale carefully pulled the bronze book from beneath his pillow. It shimmered, and new lines of text appeared in the darkness. Day report, gold ally Bran secured. Blue rival, Rett, angered, temporarily. Secret power used subtly, minimal exposure. Innocent ally Finian targeted vital strength. 95% experience, plus 400. The glowing text of the day? Report faded, but Kale knew his night wasn't over. Rett's anger was palpable, a simmering threat. He hadn't exposed Kale's power, but he was humiliated and furious. Kale could almost hear the wheels turning in Rett's head, planning some form of retaliation. And Finian. Seeing Finian flinch and tremble under their casual cruelty ignited a different kind of fire in Kale. He had to be ready. He had to figure out what Rett would do next and how to deal with it, all while keeping his own abilities hidden. The bronze book pulsed, not with a formal quest, but with the quiet understanding that the challenge had already begun. Kale Vale, the weakest recruit, the hidden guardian, looked at the sleeping Bran, then at the dark window, at the distant watching stars. The school grounds, supposedly safe, now felt more dangerous than the market square.